So the NASCAR Cup Series was once again embroiled in controversy this weekend at the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. The final lap of the XFinity 500 saw a decisive move from Chris Bell in order to try and get himself into the Championship 4, and as he crossed the line it appeared to work. He in fact advanced his position, but because of the way he did it, he ended up dropping to the last car on his lap, which was one lap down, finishing 22nd effectively, and because of that missing out on the Championship 4. I'm going to go into why this penalty was applied and whether I believe it's correct for NASCAR to do this. Just going to go through the scenario and everything like that of what happened. So obviously we're at Martinsville. It's a very small track. It's a 1 mile circuit. It's a very tight track as well. The walls are not too far away from the actual main part of the track really. It's quite a narrow NASCAR circuit. So because of that, we've seen some things like the Hail Melon and stuff like that around tracks like this over the years, where you just basically power it into the wall and just hope that your car survives and you advance your position, because it is faster, although it's the final lap. So, you can get away with damage on your car. It's not really a problem at that point. This was not as egregious as that by any means. This was nowhere near as bad as that. So I'm just going to replay the race here. So I've just got this on my screen. So we're on the last lap. You've got Chris Bell, who has not had a good race. He caused a caution in the first stage of the race. Just basically put too much speed into one of the corners and was unable to keep his car from spinning out basically. And because of that, he was well down the order. In fact, he was a lap down, which isn't as bad as it sounds again around a 1 mile track. Laps are pretty short, so you're not that far off in terms of distance from the leaders. But he was battling with the likes of Bubba Wallace, and also Noah Gragson's in there as well, I believe, the number 10 car, but he was a lap ahead, so he wasn't actually battling for position. It was purely Bell against Bubba at this point. And now, as we're going around the final corner, the final two corners of the final lap, Bubba Wallace is on the outside. You've got Noah Gragson who's ahead, and also just kind of to the inside of Bell, and Bell sees a gap and he goes for it. Now, it looks as though he just brakes a little late. I don't know if he's done this deliberately, I'll be honest. It's not immediately obvious to me. And without seeing the telemetry and seeing the data, it's hard for me to tell whether he's done this on purpose. It looks to me like he's broke a little late, he's lost the rear of the car, maybe locked the rear tyres up a little bit. Bubba Wallace has to avoid this, and does avoid it, but Bell ends up sliding into the wall. He rides the wall for basically the entire fourth and final corner and comes around and he makes that position up. And he makes it up into what I believe at the time was 18th. The first car 1 lap down. Now, NASCAR did not take exception to this, especially since that manoeuvre did put him into the Championship 4. That move was enough to put him into the Championship 4, believe it or not. I believe he was level on points with William Byron, and as a result of that, he was actually ahead due to the countback rules. But NASCAR basically said, no, you can't do that, and they gave him a penalty, and that penalty was to go basically to the last place of that lap, which was a lap down, and he ended up classifying in 22nd. He was also eliminated from championship contention as well. Now, this is a similar punishment to what we saw for Austin Dillon, actually, when he won his race this season. Now, normally that would have meant that he went through to the playoffs, because if you win, you're in. But because of the way he did it, by taking a few drivers out, he was excluded from the playoffs. So they did manage to keep his victory, which I thought was a very interesting decision from them. It's not too dissimilar to that in the terms of the punishment for Bell, and I must admit, I think it's really harsh. I really do. I understand it though. I do understand why they've done it, and they've put a line in the sand and they have to keep to it. I get that. Effectively what Bell has done is he's just sent it around the outside, and if there wasn't a wall there, he would have never made the corner. He would have been flying off the road. It doesn't look so bad on the cameras, but at the end of the day, everybody else made the corner. Nobody else hit the barriers. It was a desperate lunge, and it didn't pay off for him in the end, unfortunately, which again, I think is harsh, but I understand why they've done it. I do. I really do. I think the bigger problem is though, and I think the bigger frustration is that NASCAR needs to look at its playoff system. And that's something that a lot of people are saying in the comments, what I'm seeing online, on Facebook and also on YouTube. And a lot of people are saying that, you know, two of the best drivers this season, i.e. Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, both haven't made the playoffs. And because of the playoff system, it made someone, a driver of Christopher Bell's caliber, have to do something like this, which he shouldn't have to do. And it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't have to wreck your car across the line, you know. It's not exactly spin and win. It's just ride the wall and hope for the best, you know, the Hail Melon. And it shouldn't have to be like that, personally. I do understand why people are frustrated, but guys, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments as always as well on this. You know, was Bell right to get a penalty? And do NASCAR need to look at their playoff systems? Should they go back to something like they used to have back in the day, like the chase, where it's just 10 rounds, whoever's the best in those 10 rounds wins the championship? There's no elimination format. Any of those 12 drivers can win the championship at any point. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, keep it subscribed to the NASCARchronicle.com to see much more NASCAR content in the build up to the season ending race at Phoenix, just like this.